your body goes through an inflammatory storm, especially your brain. So you lose the architecture of your brain and the interconnections. So your new normal is sickness and pain. That's not normal. Life could take a downward spiral. People come in with 50 supplements, 30 supplements, 40 supplements. So there's got to be a new thrust within healthcare to start relying less on medication and more on neurological rehabilitation. And let's make your normal what it really should be, an activity in life in which you're functioning at 1,000%. Welcome to My Pod's podcast. I'm Dr. Joe Schneider, and after 35 years as a functional neurologist, a personal journey through stroke recovery, and helping thousands of patients, I'm here to share breakthrough solutions for POTS and neurological wellness. From getting out of bed in the morning to rebuilding your nervous system, this is your guide to understanding and overcoming neurological challenges. Let's begin this journey to recovery together. Hello, Dr. Joe Schneider from the Hope Brain and Body Recovery Center and the Hope Regeneration Center. So now Hope Brain and Body is a division of the Hope Regeneration Center. So we're a multidisciplinary office that offers rehab for the brain and the body. So regeneration is so important. I want to talk about a case that we had, an older doctor who came in, who's still working. It's kind of amazing that, he's working at this age, but amazing doctor, real intelligent guy who got in an auto accident, had brain trauma, and we were going over some of his lab work, and his systems burn out. So it was burnout, and he was having all kinds of symptomatology related to dysautonomia, cognitive health, pain in his head and his low back, so a multitude of systemic issues or weaknesses. So I wanted to talk to you about, like, after an injury, what happens. The body will upregulate its sympathetic systems, the sympathetic nervous system, the autonomic portion of it, to handle inflammation, to handle muscle spasms, joint inflammation. So, your body goes through an inflammatory storm, especially your brain. And that inflammatory storm initially is to limit the amount or spread of the injury. So, we talked about concussions and things along those lines, and we know that it's a brain bruise. So a brain bruise is the description that has been given, but actually what happens to a bruise. So if you get a bruise on your arm, you get a discoloration, right? A discoloration in the tissue. So that is the inflammatory, circulatory, and tissue response to trauma. And the brain goes through its own response to trauma with inflammation, affects the glial cells, affects the interconnections between cells, the axons, the dendrites, and it also affects the neuron itself. So a lot goes on after trauma in a negative way and also in a positive way for proper recovery after trauma. Now, it depends on how severe the trauma is. In auto accidents, causes a lot of whiplash injuries to the neck, but it can also cause shearing in the brain, shearing between connections. And the shearing effect means that you get a loss of interconnections in your brain. And there's a percentage that we can talk about with the shearing effect, but also neurons are lost too. So you lose the architecture of your brain and the interconnections that it goes to. So if you lose a central area of the brain, like in the parietal cortex, which is the sensory motor portion of the parietal cortex, the homunculus, the image of the body on the brain, and the image of the muscle system on the brain and their controls and those habit patterns. Well, if you lose those neurons and those interconnections in those areas, then your sensory motor system is compromised. So you don't move the way you should. You don't have this proper strength in your body the way you should. Your eyes don't move the way it should. So you start to see that the interconnections in the parietal cortex are important, but then we talk about the frontal cortex, and the frontal cortex up here is that executive function. It's what we choose to do and how we choose to do it. So we have executive function for a voluntary aspect of movement and control, but then we also have other systems that are reflexogenic or are there and happen automatically. For example, if I go like this and I'm looking at my finger, I don't have to worry about me falling off the chair because there are systems that are operating that keep me upright and seated. So it's a complicated system of reflexes and voluntary aspects of movement and decision making. And you can lose that. Now, if your decision making is lost, then your behavior can change. You can become impulsive. You can make the wrong decisions too quickly and not give it enough time of thought. And also, within behavior, we look at behavior can be affected by our ability to cognitively process. So if I can't do math as well, I can't remember numbers, my short-term memory, my sequential memory is off, then I'm going to have problems. So today, after all that introduction, let's talk about metabolic physiology atrophy, and then neurological and physical physiology atrophy. It's a mouthful, so I needed my notes to help me with that. So it's a mouthful, but inflammation is a metabolic process. Oxidant damage is a metabolic process. Mitochondrial damage is a metabolic process also. And so your energy mechanisms within a cell, your way that you process oxidants or stressors on your physiology has an effect also. And so does your immune system has an effect on that. And they can become triggers after trauma. So trauma can actually give you triggers. And so if you don't analyze physiology, if you don't look at how pathogens affect you, how food sensitivities from the digestive tract affect you, how dysbiosis in the intestinal tract can affect you, how your regular digestion can be affected through the stomach, the duodenum, the liver, the gallbladder, the pancreas, and so forth. That whole set of structures that begin with digestion is affected. How your balance is affected. Now, we all say we want to isolate systems and then bring the system back, but they overlap. So there's a lot of overlap in your neurology, not only in the cortex, but the subcortex, the brainstem, the spinal level. And so that overlap can give you a cascade of aspects of function that causes you to have symptoms that can give you body pains, headache pain, numbness and tingling in your fingertips, intolerance to temperature, intolerance or changes in your hunger cycle, whether you don't feel like eating or you get nauseated too easily or you get bloated or so forth. These are changes that are reflected in your body. And so if you do not do a comprehensive program, you do a segmented program to get rid of this complex set of injury, then what's going to happen is that you don't get complete injury. So you create a new normal. So your new normal is sickness and pain. New normal, sickness and pain. That's not normal. You don't want that as your new normal, right? And then the aspect of taking medications. Now, I'm not saying don't take medications, but when you have a condition that's not rehabilitated properly and your function is below normal and it's your new normal, then what you want to do is you want to bring your function up. Now, you take medications to help you deal with symptomatology. It doesn't rehabilitate your systems. It can help, but it doesn't rehabilitate your system. It takes the place of normal physiological controls of the body. So when you're on a number of medications to manage symptomatology, it doesn't get your function to a point where you get back to or as near normal as possible to normal. So let's talk about that. So long-term sickness and long-term effects of trauma will change your normal physiology to abnormal physiology, whether it's a metabolic physiology or a neurological and physical effect of that physiology. Because we live in a new environment after we have trauma. Or we live in the same environment, but our reactions to that environment are improper and not correct. It doesn't make us have better function. And if we take medications and we substitute medications for proper function, then we're not going to reach our goals of having a really high quality life where we are working, we're having relationships that we love, that we can do recreational activities that are fun and supportive for our life, hobbies that we like, being able to read or being able to be on the computer and be able to dance or enjoy music and hear properly or process what we hear properly. You know, life could take a downward spiral. So the object of care should be to get your body systems as near normal as possible and reduce through your physician, your medical physician, the amount of medication that you are dependent on to be able to function as near normal as possible. So it's a complicated process, and you need the diagnostic information not only on the metabolic portion, but also on the neurological and physiological portion. Those two are so important. Now, the industry in rehabilitation has taken a really stark change. The stark change has been we've been relying on functional medicine. The reliability on functional medicine only gives you taking not only your medications, but you're taking a bag full of supplements. Now, I'm not kidding. People come in with 50 supplements, 30 supplements, 40 supplements to actually replace or heal your physiology. So being a functional medicine doctor or functional neurological doctor for many, many years and being an avid supporter of activity, having fun, riding bikes, being a runner, hiking, swimming, canoeing, boating, like water skiing, snow skiing. You know what I mean? I've been active my entire life. And so activity makes your body stronger if you don't have trauma. Activity makes your body stronger. it helps to develop pathways within your brain and your body that work together so that you can do that activity at a really fun rate. Now, I mean, I just finished with a patient who had a severe fall in his driveway, cracked up his face and his eye really bad, got a really heavy brain trauma, went all over the place, had segmented care everywhere. And then he just finished his program here, and he's so much better. He's so much better. And we're going to give him a home program to do that will enhance his function even more. Now he's a hoopster. Now, I mean, I love playing basketball, and I played basketball when I was young. I was pretty good until I bruised my kidney, and then kind of my reflexes and my timing went off. But a hemorrhaged kidney didn't help me perform really well. So, but I always played basketball, and I just enjoy it, playing basketball. We had a court in our backyard, and we played in our backyard. We even put up lights. We had court in our backyard with lights. But so the analysis for that patient has brought us to a point, and the therapy has brought us to a point where he can confidently do a couple hours. And for him, the therapy of choice is what's called interactive metronome beat with body movements to get it in sync. And then he's going to do, I would say 12 different body movements. 12 different body movements, take about an hour, and he's going to do it twice a day to get those pathways that he lost to function better. So he's got some tremor activity. He's got some tremor activity in his legs and his arms. And this is going to rehabilitate that system, make it strong again, so that he doesn't have these movement disorders that he's dealing with right now. But he doesn't have no neck pain, has no headaches, he has no issues other than that. So, metabolic physiology can be atrophied. Those systems of biochemical aspects of being anti-inflammatory or inflammatory, or being energetic or tired, can atrophy over time, and that can become your new normal. Same thing with your neurological and physical physiology. You can have a new normal, which is low function and not able to do the things the same way that you used to. And so the definition of insanity is always like doing the same thing and not getting a different result. And you do it over and over and over again and not getting a different result. So there's got to be a new thrust within healthcare to start relying less on medication and more on neurological rehabilitation. And then in our center, we call it brain-specific rehabilitation. To get really specific about what areas of the brain are not functioning and get really specific on how to retrain it. Now, on our last video, we had Dr. Freddie Garcia on and talking about the splicing system that we're bringing in. Now, specificity for function comes from having stellar diagnostics, like splicing AI, where we have a goggle. We put the goggle on the person when they're on the chair also. And as they spin in the chair or shake back and forth, we can analyze specifically and precisely what's going on in your midbrain and your brain. And then we can precisely activate those areas so that we get a change that's very positive for the patient and can create a better life impact for them. So rely on the Hope Brain and Body Recovery Center and now the Hope Regeneration Center to bring you back from your new normal of sickness. And let's make your normal what it really should be, an activity in life in which you're functioning at 1,000%. All right, Dr. Joe Schneider from the Hope Brain and Body Recovery Center and the Hope Regeneration Center. We're here to serve you. Give us a call, 610-544-9800, and we'll strive to solve your health issues that are both metabolic and neurological. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on My POTS podcast. If you're looking for more support, visit us at hopebraincenter.com or follow our journey on TikTok, where we share daily insights and inspiration. Remember, healing is possible. I'm living proof. I'm Dr. Joseph Schneider, and I'll see you next time as we continue exploring paths to recovery.